Brenner Mills, Minnesota Vikings. Just want to win one before I die.
Lane Cooner, the conductor of the Baker train.
What is up, everybody? Welcome into another Wide Eye Power Rankings. This week we're going over post-Week 13 Power Rankings. We had three of us weigh in. Riley's the third. He's not on the show today, but we do have his rankings. They played into this. We each turn in a top 10. I then do the averages. First place is worth 10 points. 10th place is worth 1 point, and then we work out the math. So let's jump right into this. We're going to go ahead and pull up the top 10 on screen here.
I was going to say, I haven't seen it yet, but I would assume that there's probably not a whole lot of changes.
Yeah, no, this is going to be really quick for us this week. It's not a whole lot of changes. You have Denver coming in 10th place after edging out the Cleveland Browns in primetime this week. And that was a great game, by the way. I don't know how much of it you got to watch. I mean, super fun game to watch. Jerry Jeudy may have had the greatest revenge game of all time. Unfortunately, he lost. But, I mean, he had, 235 yards? I mean, for a guy who is Jerry Jeudy's caliber, that's insane. That would be like JJ having 400 yards. Like, it's crazy.
I know I was probably crazy for picking the over in this game, but I did take it last night, and holy crap, was I happy about that.
Yep, I took the over as well. Good deal. We have the Chargers at 9. No real surprises there. They play good ball. They're on a little win streak, I believe. I don't remember what it is exactly, but I do believe they're on like a little, or did they just come off a win streak? They lost last week, so I think this is their first one. They were on like a 4 or 5 game win streak before last week. That's what it was. They fell last week, but get the win this week, so they stay put. Next up,
I was going to say real quick before you move on, I'm just assuming the Texans were the ones that were left out of the top 10. I'm guessing they were the okay.
Team.
Honestly, I was just going to give them a shout out real quick, and it's not they were in my top 10. It's just between them and Denver, I honestly didn't know. I was like, I have no idea who to put here. So after like thinking about it, I was like, you know what? Like, I think I'm going to have to put the Texans on there just because like whenever it comes to a team that I wouldn't want to play in the playoffs, I think of the Texans, and I think that is a scarier opponent at the moment than Denver. Denver's still scary, don't get me wrong.
Yeah. Denver's balling.
And then just to the Chargers, like, I mean, they're beating up bad teams. They're losing to good teams. They're right where they need it. They're right where they should be. Like,
agreed. I agree completely.
I'm fine with them being at 9.
Number 8, we have the Baltimore Ravens. They take a tough loss this week to the Eagles, in which the Eagles are proving me wrong because I said the Eagles weren't for real. They're for real. But I would say Baltimore had control of this game or of that game for 3 quarters, but let it slip, and you can't let it slip and then continue to move on. You take a tumble. I think they moved from 6 down to 8 this week. I think it's fair.
I mean, I've been on board with the Eagles for the last few weeks now. I've been saying that this offense is hot. They're ready to go. They went into Baltimore and beat them. Now, I will say that obviously the game probably could have been much closer if Justin Tucker makes his field goals, but
best team game.
Yeah, I'm not going to pin it all on them. Like Lamar definitely, he has the offensive weapons with Derrick Henry and Zay Flowers that they should have been able to march right down the field and scored whenever they wanted to, and they did not do that.
They can, as long as they don't shoot themselves in the foot, dude. If they could stop committing penalties, this team would be unstoppable. Like when you look at the numbers, when they don't commit penalties, they have like an 80% score rate on a drive. Like it's crazy. They definitely just shoot themselves in the foot over and over and over again, and you would hope that they could not do that, but apparently they can't. So they got a little tumble. But number 7, we have the Green Bay Packers. Packers are so far who we thought they were. I mean, I kind of preseason rankings, I think they were like 11.5 wins-ish. 11 wins, 12 wins in most sports books. So, I mean, they were either first or second in the NFC North and all the projections. So, I'm sitting at 9 wins with 5 weeks to go. They still have to play the Lions, the Bears, Vikings. So, I see them right where they're supposed to be. They're playing just as everybody thought they would. Think this
I
is
mean,
fair?
they're 9-3, and all 3 of their losses come to teams that are in the top 5. I'm assuming that our top 5 is kind of similar to what it was the week before. And
Yeah,
I mean,
it's
it's
the
only
exact same.
it's Detroit, Minnesota, and Philadelphia. Exactly.
Yeah.
Like they lose to the best teams in the NFL, but they beat down on the average teams. I think 30-17 is pretty much a beatdown. They controlled that whole game against Miami. I thought it was going to be a little bit closer, but Green Bay definitely solidified that they should be in most people's top 10.
You know what else
Definitely
was solidified?
What?
That the Dolphins can't play in the cold. It's a wrap.
Yeah.
Like,
It's a wrap.
it's done. Like a couple weeks ago, they proved they cannot play in the cold. It's a wrap. Stop the count. They're done. If it's under 40 degrees, they're
Now, lucky for them. Well, never mind. I was gonna say lucky for them. They got some pretty warm games headed their way, but ending the season in Cleveland and New York, that's gonna be cold.
Yeah. All right, number 6, we have the Pittsburgh Steelers. I mean, this team, I want to put them higher. I really do, but I just can't. And all they do is continue to rattle off impressive wins to me. If the defense doesn't show up, the offense does. If the offense doesn't show up, the defense does. I'm just impressed by the Steelers team as a whole. I know we had them finishing last in our predictions in the AFC North.
Really?
And right there, yeah, we had them at 9-8 on the season, and right now they're in first, and they control their own destiny as far as getting to the playoffs. Baltimore's had a really tough schedule, which I think Baltimore's a better team, but they have had a tougher schedule, which has resulted in Baltimore losing more games. So Steelers control their own destiny and can get a home playoff game if they really wanted to.
I mean, I'm fine with them being at 6. I think that they're probably gonna have to. I mean, they have a tough schedule. They have 2 games back-to-back this month where they play at Philly and then turn right around and play at Baltimore, and then they host Kansas City. Yeah. So they have a tough 3-week stretch. I'm excited to watch all those games and see how they do. But since getting Russ into the system, like obviously 2 of their worst losses came whenever Justin Fields was their quarterback. And now that they got Russ in, they've only lost 1 with him. And I mean, it's kind of, I was going to go over that. Their last 3 games have been all against division rivals. So the fact that they were able to pull 2 out of the 3, like that's pretty good.
Yeah.
So
always good to get division wins.
Oh yeah, and they play Cleveland this week. And they play them at home, so I'm assuming they're probably going to win again.
Yeah, I would imagine they're favored. We'll find out on the main show tomorrow when we predict the spreads. So I have this a little different layout this week. So we'll have 5 and 4 here together. Okay. So Minnesota at number 5, Chiefs at number 4. Man, I'm just gonna say it right now. Any team in the top 5 could beat any team in the top 5. Like
I agree.
I don't think there's a clear cut. I mean, Detroit beat Minnesota by 3 points, but Buffalo beat Kansas City. But Kansas City, I could see them beating Detroit. I could see Buffalo beating Minnesota. I could see Minnesota beating Kansas City. I could see any way you want to mix that up. I could see it's such a I don't remember in recent memory. This is so exciting. I love this. Where the top 5 teams in the NFL were just so close. Like everybody, they were all so. There wasn't like for the past couple years, every regular season, right? It's been the Niners and then the Chiefs a couple years, the Ravens a couple years, the Bills a couple years. There's been like 2 top teams. Like, oh, we're going to see those 2 in the Super Bowl for sure. And I mean, there's 5 teams that I don't know. I mean, there's the top 3 teams in the NFC North: the Philadelphia Eagles, the Bills, the Chiefs. I mean, I
would go as far to say is that if I was making a Super Bowl prediction today, I would be like, man, I don't know. You basically just flip a coin with the top 8 teams right now, because I think after the Ravens at 8, I don't think the Chargers are going to win a Super Bowl. I know that they're a really good team, but I don't think they have what it takes to win. I don't think Denver has what it takes to win, but I do think that the Packers could definitely win. I think
zoom out here. Show the full top 10.
Yeah, I think the Ravens could definitely win. I think the Packers could definitely win. Like I think that when you look at the top 8, there's really not a clear cut, because I think the Ravens could beat Detroit.
Yeah, absolutely.
On a neutral field. I think that if the Ravens were to, have a rematch against the Chiefs, they could probably beat the Chiefs again.
And here in a couple weeks, we get to watch the Bills and the Lions play. So which
I'm excited about. And I don't know who's going to win that game. I don't want to pick it.
I bet Detroit's favored by. It could be a pick 'em, but I would say Detroit -3 because on a neutral field it's a pick 'em and Detroit will be at home. So I would say probably Detroit -3, maybe 3.5, because of home field advantage. But
I would go as far to say it might just be like -1.5. It might be one of those games where it
Yeah.
literally is just a pick 'em.
it might be. I wouldn't be mad about that. Anywhere between pick 'em and -3 for the Lions, I would be totally fine with. I'd be kind of, unless something happens between now and then with the Lions, if they're not, if the Bills are favored, I would be kind of surprised. But who knows? The Lions could go and lose to Green Bay this week on Thursday Night Football and get stomped, and or an injury could happen. So many things could happen between now and then. We don't know.
Go ahead.
I was just gonna say, I could see the Steelers beating the Eagles. I could see the Ravens beating the Chiefs. I could see the Vikings beating the Packers. Or the Vikings have already beat the Packers. I could see the Vikings beating the Ravens. I could see the Chiefs beating the Packers. I could see vice versa. It's so close and so deep that I don't feel like we've had this in quite some time. It's always been like, oh, the Niners, the Chiefs, and the Ravens are at the top, and then every year there's a new team, like the Bucks in 2020 with Brady, or the Rams in 21 with McVay. You know what I mean? There's always like a random team thrown in there, but it's not the same top three, and we're blowing the NFL wide open this year, and I love it.
Yep.
You got anything else?
I was gonna say my hot take out of all this, because I mean we haven't really touched up on the Eagles and all them being in the top, and I mean we jumped Philly over Kansas City, so how do we feel about that?
I like it. I think Kansas City has skated by on a lot of close wins. I'm not 100% sure what their point differential is off the top of my head.
It
low. Can't be anything
it's
too
not
crazy.
very high.
I can pull it up here in just a second, but I think Philly, after going in and beating a team like the Ravens, I mean, they deserve to have a top spot in the top, or a spot in the top three. And yeah, Kansas City didn't lose, but I've been a big proponent this season of, just because they didn't lose doesn't mean that another team doesn't deserve to be over them. And the Chiefs, I mean, they should have lost to the Raiders, and they skated by the Panthers. Those are two very bad football teams that you barely beat. And, same, in my opinion, same thing goes for the Lions. Now, I know that's very controversial and it comes off a little biased, but I mean, the Lions should have went to overtime against the Bears.
Yeah. It's just
it was just
bad clock management.
Bad, not bad, all time bad. I mean, I was shocked. I was screaming at my TV, call a timeout at 15 seconds. And then
So I'm not going to lie. I had the game on in the living room. I was with my girlfriend's family at the time. And so they had the ball. I think it was like the 2-minute warning, or maybe there was a timeout call. And I was like, okay, I'm going to step away real quick. And then I got to talking to somebody and I didn't get to see it. And I was like, oh shit. I was like, I bet they're in overtime right now.
Yeah.
And I went out there and I was like, hey man, like what happened? Like, and they were like, oh, the Bears screwed it up like they normally do. I was like, are you kidding me? It's like they didn't even kick a field goal or anything. He was like, no, they didn't even kick a field goal. I'm like, wow. Okay. So that was how I found out about it.
I mean, it was between that and the I didn't think anything could be as bad as that. And then I watched the Raiders game and them straight up just be like, actually, there was no false start. We're gonna cancel that false start. Game's over. It's like, what?
I know there was a bunch of controversy with that, and I honestly I watched the video. You see the flags being thrown. I don't know if it was an illegal shift or if it was a false start.
The flag is thrown and there's a referee running in doing the false start hand signal.
No, I saw him do the false start hand signal, but I didn't know if was he trying to get a hold of the other ref to be like, hey, was it false start, or is it because he was like, that's what I saw, and then maybe the other ref said, no, I saw an illegal formation.
Either way, there was a flag thrown and picked up when I've never seen a flag picked up on a false start penalty ever, and it resulted in the Chiefs getting a win. The Raiders, I don't remember the exact stat, but the Raiders are the first team in NFL history to be inside their own 25 with under 30 seconds left, not attempt to run a play, which is a pass, a run, a field goal, or anything, and lose the game when being down by 2 points or less. Like it had never happened before. It's just, super sketchy. It was super bad. I didn't like it.
My hot take to end this though is that out of all those 8 teams that we just listed in our top 8, I think the Chiefs are the weakest one right now.
I would say them and Green Bay.
Them and Green Bay are probably the two weaker ones out of those.
But like I said, I could see either one beating the other. And just to bring up the point differential, Kansas City is currently 11th in the NFL in point differential. They would be the only team they would be above that's in double digits in the NFC is Tampa Bay. They'd be behind Detroit, Philly, Washington, Minnesota, and Green Bay. And then in the AFC, they are currently behind Buffalo, Pittsburgh, LA, Chargers, Denver, the Ravens, and that's it. So 5 teams in both conferences would be above them. So
I mean,
they're sitting at
our top 3 when it comes to point differential is Lions, Bills, and Eagles, and that's it's identical to what we have. There's just one
and
outlier.
then Washington is number 4 still. That's crazy to me.
Yeah. Well, I feel like when they lose, they don't really lose by a lot, but when they win, they try to win big.
Yeah, I agree. But all right, unless you got anything else you want to add, that's our power ranking video for post week 13. Make sure to check back in next week, like the video, subscribe to the channel. We really appreciate you guys, and we will see y'all next time.